mustache that went all the way down to the bottom of the sides of my face. This week they've been shaved to what we would call a CEO, as well as the hair that's been cut. Why? Because before, when I looked like a trash man slash Hell's Angel slash loser, it was for a movie part. Well, that movie's already been shot. Now I've trimmed away these extra elements of the stash, going a little bit more sophisticated. Why? Because I'm about to fly out in a couple days to California to shoot a new movie, and they need me to look completely different. To me, it's kind of like Clark Kent. When it was down to here, it was obvious it was me, but once I've cut those off, you can't tell it's me. That's what makes the movies business so amazing, especially low-budget movies. There is no CGI. Just change your mustache. But that's not where you come on. Stine Has Issues. It's not why you tune in at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. It's not why people from all over this globe grab their favorite beverage and cheese. And don't think they don't eat cheese, Wyatt. They do. Why? Because they want to see me in action. God's comic. Brad Stine doing his little podcasty, watching his little family and fellow warriors jumping on board, talking, wringing hands, and wondering what's next as we lock and load and prepare the militia of the mind. Yeah, we're here. We're back. It's Monday. And now it's complete. Because Wyatt is here, I'm here, and now the music's here. Let's go. Hey, folks, welcome. It is me, Brad Stine, God's comic, and this is Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. Wyatt, I wonder if there's another word I can throw in there, because when I first put together that little opening montage, I put together comedy and conservatism and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. And, I thought that's pretty concise, and it is consistent. I'd say it every week. But I wonder if there's another I could throw in, or do you think that would be too crazy?
Cantaloupe.
Leave it to my son to go to a fruit. Why? Because he loves fruit. Why? What's your favorite fruit? And be honest.
Well, if you're talking about actual fruit, orange, easily. But if we're talking about juices, I'm kind of more of an apple fan.
Apple juice.
Yeah.
Do you like sparkling apple juice? Do you like it just fresh right out of the...
No, nothing sparkling. Okay, what is this thing with sparkling drinks? I don't get it. You're literally drinking something that tastes like it actively hates you.
No. I love everything fuzzy and fizzy.
Why? Look, carbonation is... it exists, okay?
Yeah.
I'm indifferent to it. But carbonation, for the sake of carbonation... You're just hurting yourself, man.
Why, listen, I don't know what it is about you, but it's part of what makes you a great sidekick. The things that bug you, nobody in the whole wide world is bugged by.
Okay,
I'm drinking carbonation, and I rarely do.
Okay, no. There's a difference between the carbonation in a soda and the carbonation in a sparkling water drink. Those are two different things. It's like comparing... Gosh, what's a good comparison for that? Because
no, none, because everybody loves sparkling.
No, they don't. Have you ever had like sparkling apple juice or whatever?
Hey, listen, it's called Martinelli's, and it's great. It's the first time I ever had it was in California, 1978, at this restaurant that I used to work on when I was a professional magician called Poppy Star in Newport Beach. I think it was Costa Mesa or Newport Beach, California. First time I ever saw Martinelli sparkling apple cider, and I was hooked. It was amazing. It was cold, it was fresh, it was sparkly. It tingled my taste buds. Yes, sparkle and apple should be a combination that we can all enjoy. As a matter of fact, I would be surprised if God has some sparkling soda for us when we get up to heaven, Lord. He wants us to have sparkling juices. He created the juice, right? He created the fruit, so why wouldn't he jazz it up a little bit? Son, he created carbonation as well, I'm sure.
I'm sorry, are you saying that the apples he created weren't good enough?
No, he made them with a little zing at the end. Listen, I got to find out who's here.
You telling me that they have to be juiced to be enjoyed? Interesting. I'll have to let him know that when I get up there.
Wyatt, Aaron Oaks, come to Wyoming. First guy on.
Nick Kress, first guy on.
All right, again, here we go. Michael Quackenbush. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone had a great Monday and are ready for another awesome podcast. Why wouldn't they be, Michael Quackenbush? Are you implying that if you hadn't mentioned that to them, they would have been confused and bewildered, wondering if this could be a podcast that might be worth hanging on to, listening to, calling up friends, saying, jump on, he's here. Stine's here. He's here now with his son, Wyatt, who exuded from his loins.
No, I think it helps to differentiate us from the bad podcast.
Wyatt!
What?
Our existence differentiates us from all podcasts.
Okay, fair enough.
We take it to levels that no one ever possibly stooped to.
And then we keep digging lower.
I know. Rebecca Dwyer, hello from Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. Hello to White also. Now, she's added a couple of extra prayer hands, so obviously she's had a nasty fall down the stairs and needs her hip hands laid on. And when I say hands laid on, I don't mean that in a, inappropriate way.
Nobody thought that.
Well, maybe they did.
Why did you make people?
Well, because you're the one that thought sparkling apple juice.
No. Sparkling water is terrible.
Carrie Tudor, no notification. Had to look you up, push your button, saying live, but glad to see everyone.
Hey,
I'm glad you're pushing my button. You've got to show up on your own, Carrie Tudor.
Also, I would like to say thank you to Robert Miller on the YouTube side.
What did he say?
He wants to thank you for the subliminal messaging about the Pritcher sticks because he immediately went out and bought some.
Oh, did you get the big fatties?
You gotta get the big fatties.
Yeah.
Those are the original ones.
Oh, they're the best. They're the best.
It's like the big fat ones are like the
Wyatt, they could be our sponsor. Look, I bought them their first batch. Wyatt, can you look into that? Find if pretzel people want to get behind us and.
You know what? I just have a hunch. The answer's probably no.
Why, you know who's really thankful for me?
Thanksgiving turkeys?
No.
I mean, it would be a kind of ironic twist.
They couldn't thank me. They'd be dead.
Well,
George Caudle. Hi, I'm so thankful for you, Brad Stine. Patrick Connolly's here. Looking forward to Brad Stine of Rock Hill, South Carolina on October 20th. Me too. Going to be lots and lots of fun. Colleen Jeff McCune, please come to Ohio. Fine, if you invite me and your church opens their doors, right, Wyatt? Aaron Oaks says, yeah. Karen Boyd finally comes in, bringing up the rear. What's happened to Karen, Wyatt? Is she drunk?
Oh, I don't know, but you know what? It must have been that sparkling apple juice. I told you. Yeah. I told you to stay away from that nonsense. You didn't listen to me.
Toyed with her brain. Welcome to God's Company. Brad Stine Has Issues. Michael Quackenbush, Complete Clarity. Nick, Chris, and Carrie Tudor watching with you. Let's see. Quackenbush said complete common sense clarity. So maybe I shouldn't have brought it up because now we're getting too good. Don't you think? Sean Syriac, I was like...
Look, isn't the end goal to have so many sounds that we can just skip the entire content of this and just have that be the whole podcast?
Could you imagine?
I could imagine.
Wentworth Kindred, yip, issues. Aaron Oaks, constitutional clarity. Ooh, constitutional, okay. Sean Syriac, he shows up with his bear. Hey, Brad and Wyatt, still no bear yet. What?
Wait, what?
I don't know. He always has a bear on his picture, so I happened to mention it for the first time, and he happened to say no bear yet.
Was that supposed to bring a bear to the show tonight?
No, but he's got a bear on his photo, and I've never mentioned it until this second, and then I happened to look at his glance at his thing, and he said, no bear yet. What are the odds? That's almost like precognition. Karen Boyd, carbonation is carbonation, I thought, haha. Or in Italy, gas or no gas. Forrest Beatty, good evening, Brad and Wyatt. Have another great show, and if you haven't noticed, my name is Forrest Beatty.
I mean, honestly, with a name like that, you can be the next James Bond.
Do you think he could be a antagonist, like a bad guy, like?
Forrest is too cool of a name to be the antagonist. That's definitely the name of an '80s action movie star.
James Voigt's here. Ignore CR. Dusty Wilhelm. Hello, friends. Forgot it was Monday. How do you forget it's Monday, Wyatt?
I mean, it's not like literally the universe is made up 1/7 of them.
Yeah. Did you know that Karen Boyd said that most podcasts don't have a live audience?
No, I didn't know that.
Is that true?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, then quit surmising it. Okay, I got a friend request from Brad Stine today with Brad's picture on it. It was started today. It is a scam. I told you it was a scam. Trust me, folks.
I mean,
The last thing I'm going to be doing all day long
is making friends.
is looking for you folks and say, hey, would you like me? Could you please give me a little friendship scenario while we're at it? No, it's not coming. Let's see. Rebecca De La Dwyer, knees already had hips replaced. Ooh, her knees. Let's see. Stan Stinson, haven't seen him for a while. Greetings, all happy Monday. Let's see. All right. Well, anyways, that's it. I got everybody, Wyatt. Listen, I wanted to ask you a question. Most of the time when we do the podcast, I think that we, we're getting more sophisticated over time, don't you think? I mean, we've had some interesting guests for sure. Got a lot of interesting ones coming.
I cannot remember the last time I pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, I am surprised, though, that you haven't done more with the sound effects, because we did pay extra for those.
That wasn't even... I immediately hit the wrong button. I was going for the one above it.
Listen, that's hysterical. Look, here's what we're going to do today, folks. Now, I got a really special guest. I also have something I want to talk to you about for a second here before we head to the guest. But our guest today is a very, very interesting guy. And I'm going to say this, and I don't know. Now, listen, I have had some amazing podcast guests, all of them, really. The people that have honored me to come on to my show is mind-boggling. I mean, because it's just a tiny little show. It's not like we're gigantic, Wyatt. Are we? Are we gigantic?
No, we're about average height.
Okay, so we're average, and yet I've had on a sitting U.S. senator. I've had a state senator. I've had a sitting congresswoman. I have had a Hall of Fame basketball player, a ex-NHL player. I have had on a couple professors. I have had on doctors. So, I mean, really intriguing folks, plus very eclectic people, sword swallowers, right? Artists that make fake dinosaurs. I mean, really interesting folks. But one of the things that I was wondering about was, bringing on this guy that I've known for a while, and he's a singer-songwriter. You guys will know him, but trust me when I tell you this. I love talking to people. Everybody's more interesting to me than me, right? I would much rather talk to other people because they got interesting lives. They did some cool stuff, intrigue. I want to learn from everybody else. I don't want to talk to myself, right? I want to talk to others. And so, but as much as I've loved all these interviews, and I've got more coming, got a great interview tomorrow with John Schneider, so that'll be an upcoming interview. Somebody I just did a movie with the long side, what do you call them, mutton chops. Anyways, no, Fu Manchu. Anyways, but this guy, I'm going to say this, and I don't know that I've ever said it before. I think it was one of my favorite interviews I've ever had. And I've had some wonderful people that I really adore, and I've loved everybody. I really have. But it was just so, trust me when I tell you, this interview is so unique and so special in the things that we talked about and the things that came and the vulnerability that he brought, because he has a very unique story that if you are in the Christian music world, you will know this story, but you didn't know it from his mouth, the kind of the backstory. Matter of fact, the story is so unique, so painful, and so beautiful too, that I did something I have never done before so far in the podcast. I did 2 interviews with him, and I'm going to run them back to back. So we're doing the first interview today that you're going to love, and then next week is going to be part 2 the second phase of this interview where it goes even deeper, even darker. It's really, really an interesting interview and helpful, and I think will be very inspiring to all of you folks. But before we get there, and I just wanted to give you a little teaser, a little taste. Today I was talking to Wyatt the other day, and Wyatt's my son. If you don't know, if you're brand new to Stine Has Issues, and not everybody that watches the show, Wyatt, comments. Did you know that?
Are you kidding me? Half this time I'm ever online, I want to stay as far away from being known to be a part of it as possible.
How come?
I'm lazy.
Okay.
Also,
Well,
I don't have much to say.
are you calling our people lazy?
Yes.
Okay. So our people are lazy, saith Wyatt, but they don't, not everybody comments. So, I mean, if you really look through the comments, there might be 20 that kind of engage each other. Karen always does. Stinson shows up, he does. Quackenbush is now a newcomer, but he's robust, getting on. I mean, he even had a fake Brad try to contact him. That's how big he's become. Of course, Nick Kress comes on, Forrest Bainey, of course. Paula Faye Marie Rauchi usually shows up. I don't know if she's here yet. Didn't see her in the first go through. But I was talking to Wyatt about all these different people, and I said to myself, Wyatt, I think we've come a long way in the podcast. I think, what it started with, and where half the podcast, if you remember, Wyatt, when we first started, was just figuring out if you had the lighting proper, why we couldn't make the mic work. It was ridiculous.
Don't remind me of the
It
mic
was so
situation,
ridiculous
please.
that most of our podcast consisted of why our podcast sucks.
Which
right now
inevitably made it unique.
Yeah, but most people would not even show it. They would eliminate it from the archives. Not us.
Not us.
We embraced it.
We are too lazy to remove it.
Wyatt, we embraced it. We just said, forget it. Let's just go in. This is what we got. This is how bad we are.
I mean, look, every podcast starts somewhere.
Yeah.
We just happened to start very, very low.
Yeah, we did, right. So, but we've come a long way. But I was asking Wyatt, I said, what do you think people like about our podcast? What do you think? Because I don't really know. Here's what you guys don't understand. If you never did one, never done one, I don't know the proper grammars. If you've never had your own podcast, and it's not hard, anybody can do it. But if you're trying to do it consistently and make it intriguing and interesting, because as you guys know, when I first started doing this, I said, I'm not going to keep doing this if nobody's watching, if nobody cares. Why would I? But if you guys think there's something interesting here that matters, things that I say, insights that I might have, or at least thoughts, whether they're insightful or not is subjective. But if you think it's worth existing in the ethers, then let me know, and people donated their time to help build out our studio, and they donated so we could buy cameras. I mean, to turn it into this thing, you guys literally, and I've said it 1,000 times, built this podcast on your own with your own blood, sweat, and tears. So I'm very appreciative. Never forget that. But I'm curious, and so today, before we get into our amazing interview and my little commentary, I want to ask you guys a question. I want to ask you guys, you show up, a lot of you are regulars, and I'm just, again, always mind-boggled that people show up every Monday and come on here. It's so humbling to me and so kind of you. So I'm going to ask you questions. I've always let you guys be the ones that help build this. You would ask questions, you would participate, you would buy the T-shirt. I mean, you guys built this. We built this thing like a team, like it's supposed to be, right? So I value your input. I always give you insight about things I'm going to do before anybody else knows it. I mean, we're like family. I really look at it like that. So I'm going to ask you guys, just for a few minutes, and hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, then we'll just jump right off. What do you like about Stine Has Issues? I want to know what it is about this podcast that brings you back. And I'm not fishing for compliments. It's literally just kind of, what would you call it, Wyatt? Like a marketing survey type thing. I'm just curious. What do you like? What's your favorite part? Let's do that. If you have a favorite part of the podcast, let me know. Just write it down, because I want to talk about it.
Don't type in the chat. Write it down on a piece of paper. We will know what you said.
Yeah, because I'll do it with I'll do a Kreskin. I'll read your mind.
How else would you do it?
Of course. And so type it in. What do you like about it? What's your favorite part? Who was your favorite guest? What is it about me that you like? Do you like it when I joke around, or would you prefer that I stay more serious and focused and aggressive and dramatic? Because suddenly I know you guys know, you've been watching a long time. We're having the time of our lives. Next thing I know, I'm losing it over something that's happening to my country or to someone insulting my Lord. And so I respond to those things. But and also, if you have any questions, if you have anything you would like to see, you can ask for guests. But here's the thing. Guests don't just pop on podcasts, especially if they're not gigantic. So it's not like, so you could say have Trump on, or you could say, have George Clooney, but they're not going to come on because I'm not big enough. But tell me about the guests you like. Tell me what you like about me as far as do you like it when Wyatt and I are joking around? Is that more fun, or do you like it when it's more serious? And just write it down, and because I want to comment on it, I want to look at it. And if you have a question for us, or for Wyatt, who's never been seen except for people at Lowe's, and they don't know who they're looking at. When they go buy that wrench, they don't know that this guy is this huge podcast sidekick because he's anonymous.
Yeah, even I don't know that.
I know. So Wyatt, have we had any questions yet, or any comments?
On the YouTube side, we have Jeremy Lloyd, who this is his first time watching the podcast.
Jeremy
Discovered it a few weeks ago.
Well, well, thanks for coming back, Jeremy Lloyd. I wonder why they go to. Why do you think some people go to YouTube and not Facebook, and vice versa? Why?
Because Facebook has been dying ever since we started this podcast, and that's not going to be a trend that changes anytime soon.
Okay.
Let's see. The worst platform to start this thing on.
Well, listen, I already see some folks that are saying some stuff. Aaron Oak said, "This is the highlight of my week. I wish I could do more for your ministry." What a nice thing to say. Highlight. Wyatt, how bad is this man's life? That you and me, couple of rubes, just plugging away, pushing wrong buttons, saying the wrong thing, we're the highlight of his night.
Look, I'm just saying.
You think the man is like an invalid in bed and he can't move and he has to like talk with his eyes? And he's like saying, please, God, turn the channel. Please, God, turn the channel. And his nurse is falling asleep? Or do you think he actually wants to tune in?
Look, I'm just going to say, if the 298th loins joke is the highlight of your week...
Nobody's going to mention loins.
I feel sorry for you.
James Voigt said comic insight. So he likes both. That's cool. Karen Boyd, so she's an old fan and been an incredible partner in this, really a partner, because she comes in here and she puts clips up and puts things on that you can't even do, Wyatt. You can't even do half of what Karen does. If Karen lived here, she'd be in your seat right now pushing buttons.
Exactly. And I'd be over there doing the important stuff, and you would be, I guess, the butler. Getting us snacks and refreshments.
I'll do it as long as it's got cheese. Truth brings me back every week. Truth. Okay, nice. Thank you. Becky Meadows said real. So we're real. I like that. Carrie Tudor. The honesty and watch you engage with your son and grandson comes in mystery of what your son looked like and why it's sounding birdish. Okay, so first off, they're wondering if when my grandson showed up, they're all wondering, well, I wonder if this is what Wyatt looks like. Ha!
Yes, I am secretly a 2-foot-tall person. I have to honestly reach over the desk to reach the computer keys.
Wyatt is, trust me, guys, you would. Should I give him a clue?
Well, that's kind of up to you. You are the host. But what kind of clue would you even give them? Because we don't want to give it away.
No. Yeah.
We want to keep them guessing.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. Nick Kress, the issues, both comical and real issues. Okay, thanks, Nick. So they like that we joke around. See, I wasn't sure if people were really waiting for us to quit screwing around so they can get to some interesting stuff. And I guess they'd like us joking around.
I do see someone on YouTube, Conquest, who is actually my friend, Jackson, if you know him.
Who's on YouTube?
Conquest.
Oh, yeah. Jackson, how are you, buddy? I'm glad that you
man.
showed up. Does he usually come on?
He usually is one of the people we mentioned who shows up but doesn't comment.
I never knew he watched our show.
Exactly, and that's the point.
Okay. Amazing guest with real current issues. So Michael Quackenbush likes that. Stenson, honesty, transparency, and comedy. Yeah. Comedy and insight in your midst. So they do like us joking. Now, yeah. Brad Stine, serious? No. I like your comedy better. So they like comedy better than, so here's one person that would prefer our joking around than, I guess the stuff. Carmen says, I wouldn't change a thing. Dusty Wilhelm, I like how you keep things real. You don't sugarcoat anything. I respect that. Why don't I sugarcoat anything?
Your heart condition.
Yeah.
I also have precocious, how do you pronounce that?
Precious?
Conjugian?
Can you really not pronounce words?
I can't see the words. I only have one contact in.
Okay.
And T.W. Smith back to back saying that they are here for the Lowe's story.
Yeah. Woo! The Lowe's funerals. Build your own casket. Aisle 15. The guests and you share stories, funny and serious. Good. That's Carrie. I like a lot of your political views and how you make it funny. My favorite guest was so far Kevin Sorbo. Interesting. Aaron Oakes, agree with Karen. Nicholas, I like you said it might be difficult, but Mike Rowe or Dave Ramsey. I might get Ramsey. I know him. I don't know Mike Rowe. Frank Gonzalez, I like your gumption. Wyatt, you have always complained about my gumption, and yet Frank loves it.
Yeah, I was complaining about your gumption. How much of it you have.
Yeah.
Tone it down a bit, pal. Also, we have Jonathan O'Connell, who, once again, is giving the podcast a shot. He wants to know what the topic is today.
The topic today is, first off, we're just talking about people who have been building the podcast and like the podcast, and we're just trying to get some insight. See, I like to interact with people. A lot of podcasts aren't live. Now, this will be archived. You can watch it later, and it gets shared more and more, and thousands of people see. But the live one, the folks have to take time and show up. Well, we're going to have a wonderful guest that you're going to love about singer-songwriter, talking about the artistic approach to writing, how does it work, his own life, what he's went through. Fascinating. And I am going to make a comment about something that happened to me in the airport. Okay. So Ashley Haas, insight and perspectives. As someone who's creative, trying to find my place in the creative world, the way you pave the way and show pitfalls to watch out for. Thanks for all you do. I like that. So I fell through all the pits. So they're picking me up, dusting me off the shoes. So she's like, okay, I see, avoid that because Brad went that way and he vanished. So let's go this way. So Wyatt, we're helping people through. So when we finally completely crash and burn, somebody will go and succeed us, and at least they'll be good. Sean Sirik says, this is like a church I go to. Michael Quackenbush, I'd like to do more for your ministry. Well, pray for me. That's the first thing you do. And if you want to donate, you can do that. We're coming to the end of the year. You want to get a tax break and put money where it could help. Just let me know. We'll put up a card and we'll probably put how you can donate. And that's how you can help. Let's see.
Okay, we just got a comment on YouTube. Goes by the name of Deathclaw Jedi.
Holy smoke.
That's a name.
And what did he say?
Extreme name.
Yeah.
Just said he got a couple of your DVDs. Bless you, brother.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you, buddy. Keep them coming. Michael Quack, Representative Chip Roy from 21st District of Texas would be great. Shay. Jacob Harris. Hey, Brad. Got no signal, but I love you, man. You remind me of my younger years. Keep it the great word. Okay. Karen Boyd, does he look like your wife? How would she even know what my wife looks like? Dustin Lafort, I like your unapologetic faith, freedom, fearless, funny. Thank you. Unapologetic, all right. Jacob Harris, I think what you got now is a perfect mix, so that's good. My favorite guest would be John Schneider, says Karen, because Karen has the hots for Schneider. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I mean, it is fun to pronounce his name. I will say that.
Okay. Have you had Larry Alex Taunton on before? I have not. Jeff Wilson, M.A. Brady, you nailed it again. God bless you and your family. God bless you. I love the feeling of being part of the club of CCCCC. Okay, that's Paula Faye. She shows up. And there's Karen putting up the link. Thank you, dear. Well, thank you. So, I mean, I really do appreciate you guys because, you know, we don't know. We're on this side. I'm on this side of the camera. Wyatt is on no side of the camera because he's a coward.
I'm on the side of the camera that makes it go on.
That's true. You're the one that plugs it in at the end. So I was in the airport, Wyatt. Did I mention that?
Yeah, like briefly once.
Yeah.
I didn't know where you went. I just thought you went off to the store or something.
How many
for 2
people do you
days.
think in the United States have been in all 50 states?
At least one.
Yeah, who would that be?
You.
Yeah, so that's me. I'm a 50-stater. We should have a. Should they have a award?
Is that the official name for it? 50-stater?
50-stater. Huh?
Yeah. With the amount of effort that went into that name, I can see why so few people have done it.
Wyatt, it's so cool to have been in all 50 states. It's a beautiful country. It's the greatest country in human history.
Didn't you almost like freeze to death in I don't think it was in another country, wasn't it?
That was Winnipeg, Canada.
Yeah, apparently negative 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Horrifying!
Doesn't joke around.
Holy, and speaking of who we never see anymore, Danny Herring.
Oh, yeah.
They finally got her. Trudeau!
I wish we had the Canadian national anthem on the soundboard. Because
Oh, Canada.
Wait, you know it?
My home and faithful land, to be true. That's kind of why I just kind of know the melody because I've heard it a few times. Well, listen, here's what happened. I was in Detroit Airport. Now, Detroit is a old, famous city. Of course, Henry Ford and the Model T all ran out of Detroit, right? And he did quite well. The Detroit Tigers, Ty Cobb was a Detroit Tiger, one of the greatest, top 10 greatest baseball players in history. And so it's kind of not so good anymore. It's kind of fallen to pieces. But I was in the airport, so you don't really see the smoldering mass. And I was in line getting ready to put my bag onto the carousel that sent it off. And I see this kid. I'm going to guess he's 20, maybe. And he's maybe your height. And just kind of looks... I mean, if you just glance, I'd say kind of nerdy looking, a little lumpy, not fat, but not thin, certainly not in shape. But he was wearing a shirt, and the shirt said something to the effect of personal pronoun. If you're not sure, just ask. And then it had all these little checks like, you know, if you don't know what I am, just ask. It's okay. I'll tell you if I'm a they, them, or a he, him. You know, and it's a T-shirt, like pronouncing this giant thing. So my first thought was, well, A, you're clearly a guy. There was no ambivalence. There is those who try to kind of be androgynous, right? You kind of don't know what you got. But most people, even those who are trans, you can tell that it's a guy dressed as a woman or a woman dressed as a guy. You can usually tell, right? And no, it's not always. Once in a while, there's been some very pretty-looking women that you find out as a man because so much of femininity is based on the makeup and the long hair and the way you dress, and you can create this illusion of looking feminine or masculine. That's what makeup can do. That's what hairstyle can do. It's what clothing can do. And so I'm looking at this shirt that's just like this blatant, you know, proud sense of ask me if you're not sure. And Wyatt, I was kind of, well, you know me. You know your dad.
Yeah.
What do you think? Just be honest. What do you think my first response was when I saw the shirt? If you were to guess. My thoughts about this particular person.
It's so hard to decipher what goes on in that noggin of yours. I'm assuming you tried to find a comedy bit in it of some kind. I'm not really sure what that would entail, But, you know, just a social commentary on the current events.
Yeah. Well, now keep in mind, my latest album, and I will always call it an album because I'm an old guy. My latest album does have material dealing with identifying, with personal pronoun, with how you define yourself. So I do have material about that. So that's a clever guess that you know, maybe I would have looked for a funny.
Yeah.
But my first response, Wyatt, and it wasn't natural, was just kind of anger. It's like, oh, please, with the stinking, oh, not with the shirt. Oh, please ask, like we care. Like we care.
I mean, to be fair, the vast majority of people don't really care.
They don't.
At least, yeah. Or at least are neutral.
Don't care. Aren't needing to know your pronoun. Don't need to be educated. Aren't sweating if we're going to offend you by calling you the wrong thing. Frankly, it's a turnoff for me. I don't even want to talk to the person. It's like if I have to navigate like having a human conversation because I give you the wrong pronoun.
Like walking a minefield?
Yeah, I'm not interested. It's like, I don't have that issue. Let's just talk. But I found myself thinking like that, which, by the way, is comedic thinking, right? You're trying to think of how you want to frame this and how you would do it. But I was mad. I'm like, come on. Because it felt intrusive to me. It felt like I was being shoved. Talk about shoving something down your throat. I didn't care. Would never have thought, I wonder if that's a guy or a girl. Wouldn't have thought it had I not seen your shirt, just to realize that you're sort of identifying as something that you, because it looked like a dude. So I was frustrated. I was angry. It was this whole rewriting of human history. The science has been settled for tens of thousands of years. The right side of history is it's always been male, female. That's never changed in human history, never will. Any human being that isn't sure if there's such a thing as a man or a woman has one thing in common. They all were created by a man and a woman. So it's kind of proof in the biology that this is how the world actually works. So it frustrates, it makes me angry. And that anger, as you just kind of poignantly pointed out, usually turns into a joke that I can throw it out there. That anger turns into a softening, a funny, but let's make a social commentary. That's what comics do. But I caught myself thinking this through, because one thing that I can't escape is my faith. Okay? I actually believe God is real, that life is meaningless without God, and since no one lives life as though there is no meaning, it's a proof of God. It's a proof of God. If you try to make meaning when there is none, and remember, honest, intelligent atheists have all reached the same conclusion, nihilism. If atheism is true, we are just molecules in motion. There is no truth, there is no reality. We are just determined to live like organisms, and then we just fade into oblivion. So nihilism, the truth that there is no meaning in life whatsoever, is what Nietzsche came up with, Bertrand Russell, folks, even Dawkins. They always have to couple it with, well, we just make our own meaning because there's no ultimate meaning, so we just make our own meaning. Not realizing how absolutely philosophically absurd that is, that if there is no meaning in the novel, then adding a chapter of meaning in the novel is irrelevant. There is no meaning. You're literally pretending to make meaning, but there is none. I did a whole soliloquy on atheism and that concept, so I'm not going to get into it now. You guys can go look in the archives. But I believe in God, and I believe he revealed himself in Jesus Christ. There's never been any story like this in human history. There's never been a book written over this much time framing a particular group of people, the Jewish people, the Israelites, who then predicted a Messiah, who then showed up, and then he came on, and there's all these letters written. They're compiled in a book. It has a cohesive beginning, middle, and end, and it actually says that this is how the world works, and here's how we got here, and here's where we're going. So I believe it, and I live it. And one of the things it tells you is this very horrible, incredibly intrusive idea that you have to love your enemy. And you have to pray for those that despitefully use you. And you have to give kindness and goodness and love to every human you meet the best you can, because of this one mind-bogglingly unusual, one-of-a-kind, never had been thought of in human history before the Torah, and then sort of evolving into Christianity. And that is this, that every human being is made in the image of God. They have dignity because they are filled with the soul that is resonating with the likeness of the Creator. So we're all sacred, right? We all live forever, by the way. You have a soul, so you will live forever. And so I found myself maybe having a right to sort of mock and ridicule this nonsense, because it's being intruded upon us and the giant minority people that just want to be left alone to live a normal, logical, rational life, are suddenly being taught this lunacy of living an irrational life and having to, so people don't get their feelings hurt. I'm not doing that. I'm going to live by truth, but that's also a Christian virtue, that you live by truth at all times. Always. Never lie. And never apologize if people are offended if you spoke truth. So, but the beautiful thing about it, Wyatt, is it teaches you to sacrifice yourself, to humble yourself, and so you get to choose when you look at these people. You get to choose, am I going to see them as somebody that's a threat? Am I going to see them as somebody that's annoying? Am I going to see them as somebody that's wokey? Am I going to see it as somebody who is stealing my liberties, my freedoms, my religious liberties? Am I looking at somebody who's clearly naive, has fallen for this nonsense, and they are identifying in this idea that gives them the sense of themselves? Are you going to be frustrated and angry and upset about them and this and that thing? Or can you eliminate that for a second, step aside, and see beyond the T-shirt and this, oh, I am a they, them, I am binary, this whole thing? What are they really saying? Because none of it's true. It's all a mental disorder, which we all kind of have a mental disorder to a certain degree. What are they really saying? They want to be known. They want to be dignified. They want to be loved. They want to be nurtured where they're at and walked through life, because they're confused, they're sad, maybe they're angry, they're broken, they're hurt, they're lonely, they're adrift. They are postmodernists who are taught life has no meaning, so they start creating their own meaning. But it doesn't work. You can't create meaning in the midst of a novel if the novel is meaningless to begin with. Nothing inserted inside of it will make it coherent, because it's the big story that matters, not your little tiny story that you're trying to shove in it. Is there a major theme that there is a God, you were made, you are loved, there is a place to go? Is that theme here? Then everything you find in the midst of that you insert yourself is, that's your piece of this puzzle. That's your moment in this life that you will be part of, that you do have a place to play in this play that God has created until it's over. So instead of me wanting to just say, oh, stop with your shoving your crazy down my throat, I got to learn to say, be more loving. Because if you got a chance to talk to this guy and just really kind of find out who he was, where he came from, what his life was like, you'd probably see just a real broken little boy that's stuck and doesn't know where to go. And maybe, just maybe, what he really needs is somebody to love him and care and nurture the true spirit inside of him to coalesce with the body that he was given and find synergy and cohesion and what we're all looking for, peace. So I had to learn a lesson, son, because I'm just as broken, just as messed up, if not more so. But at least the beauty of Christianity is it's self-correcting. It teaches you how to correct yourself based on God's ways, because otherwise nobody's going to do it for you. See, atheism, leftism, you don't have to do jack. You just take the power, you destroy whatever gets in your way, and you grab it on and own it. I don't get that permission, and that's the only way that life can be peaceful and good and loving, and people can get along. If you self-correct, if you have an internal virtuous moral compass, and where does that come from? Yourself? No, because if you happen to want to be a serial killer, that's where you come from. If I happen to be somebody that wants to hit people I don't like, that's where I come from. But if God said, here's the rules, and I'm going to place them in your spirit, and you must be beholden, but I'm relying on you to do it on your own. You come to me, I'll give you strength, you pray to me, but you have to make the choice and the decision. That's how you can become a mature, noble adult that can actually be of value to the world that you inhabit and the sphere of influence you find yourself in. All of that, Wyatt, is what I got, standing in line trying to put my baggage on the cart, looking at a dude's T-shirt. What do you think, Wyatt?
How long were you staring at them?
Just like a second. It was a glance.
You managed to, basically cram, a 10-minute speech worth of information into a single second of glancing at this guy? Really?
Wyatt.
It's like...
Wyatt.
What?
I'm profound.
You're something, all right.
Thank you, son.
Thank you?
I don't know what else to say.
Neither do I, honestly. This was not the direction I thought this podcast was going to go.
No one knows where the podcast is going to go. There is no direction. Don't you understand it? There's no wheels. We're just like a spinning top, flying around willy-nilly. And don't think you don't know what willy-nilly means, son.
Yeah, I know what it means. I don't... There's not even a joke for that. I know it's a common phrase. What am I going to add to that?
Yeah.
If you're going to give me something to jump off of, make it go above ground level.
Yeah, I know it. Hey, White, you got a funny button you can push real quick?
Yeah. Just give me a second. I wouldn't call that funny, but it was a button.
Whew.
Hold on.
You don't know what the button...
There we go.
You ought to title these so you know which one's a hit when we need to.
I did, and then I lost it.
You lost your little tape. Folks, let me tell you something if you're on for the first time. Now, Wyatt is my son, and I'm so proud of him. He's a 27-year-old man. He's about a year away from finishing college online. He works part-time at Lowe's, and he's my podcast partner, my podcast sidekick, my podcast producer, button pusher, and helps in editing, and we're trying to do more and more things. He's my son. I love him very much. He's my only son, and I'm grateful to God for him. It was a blessing in my life. When I found out my wife was pregnant and that it was a boy, I couldn't believe it, because everybody wants a boy. Every man wants a son, but you don't always get one. And so I would have taken whatever it was. I have a daughter. I love her very much. But when I found out I got a son, I was like, oh, that's all I wanted. Just give me a son, and then whatever happens after that, good, because I wanted that experience. So we sit here and do this together. I never would have expected us to have our own thing together, son. It's amazing. It's fun. It's a ride, and I hope it lasts. I hope it grows. I hope we get more and more interesting elements we can add to it. If I leave it up to you, that won't happen. It'll be up to me, of course, but you'll just reap the benefits and the dividends. But what's new? Nevertheless, if you want to see this continue to grow, bring in spiritual dimensions like you just happened. Doesn't happen every time. The people said they don't know. They like it real, they like it funny, and they like it raw, and they like it deep. But we never know where it's going, son. I never know. I pray that God gives me the anointing to do what he wants it done, and then who knows where we're going to end up. We know you don't know, because I don't know either. But that was kind of a taste of that. We went this other direction, and maybe it was helpful to somebody somewhere. We also joked around, because people said they like that. I'm grateful. Sometimes I show clips of my comedy. That is usually what brings people here in the first place. They've seen my comedy clips online, or they've seen me live. I was just performing over the last weekend in Michigan. So had a great time for Pregnancy Resource Center, and we raised funds for them, and they did really, really, really well. So I'm very grateful to God that these people got help. So I want you to know that we have ambitions that this can do more and get even more fascinating guests and have even more interesting interplay and maybe some other things. But it takes money to make sketches and to edit, and it just does. And we may never do it. We might just stick to what we're doing. Maybe this is all that ever going to be. But if you like what you're seeing, or if you believe in it, and as we are getting to the end of the year, we need help. Now, the first thing you can give to is what I call the militia of the mind. These are people that identify as Americans, and they're people that watch from overseas. So you don't have to be an American, but because I'm here, this is kind of what I was doing. I'm trying to defend my territory, that we are a place of sovereignty. We are a place of freedom. We are a place of liberty, that we aren't wanting the politicization of the FBI and the things that have happened to this nation. That is despotic and horrible and evil and dark. I don't like the oligarchs. I'm so broken that these multi-billionaires, who I admired, I always admired rich people, because to me, I'm like, I can do that. They've shown the way. And now they've become power-hungry and despicable people that are killing people so they can make a profit. They've ruined the whole making money thing for me, how that power has gone to their head. And they'll pay. They'll pay. There will be a reckoning day. That's all I got. I can't do it. It ain't going to happen for me. I'm just a little guy in his attic trying to do a podcast. But if you want to be part of the militia of the mind, it's just people that are basically a peasant's revolt. We care about freedom in America. We want to come together, feel like a community. Just go to my website, bradstine.com, and sign up. Name, email, it's $36 for a whole year, $3 a month. I didn't want it expensive, but you had to give something. You have to get used to sacrifice and to be part of it. I'm looking for 10,000 people that give $3 a month. That will really change everything, because we'll be able to start doing stuff that are at a degree we had never anticipated. They're called the Mighty 10,000. One day I hope to have 1 million people that want to subscribe. But the first 10,000 will always be the first 10,000. They will be no one else will ever be able to claim that. You will be the ones that launch this. And if it is effective and helps people and changes things in some ways, because we get bigger, so we have more influence, you participated, God will give you a reward for it. So you can do that. If you want to just give to the general ministry in general, or to things that I'm doing on my own outside the podcast, just Karen puts a link up, and you will just give to the ministry. It's a 501c3, so it is a tax deductible. So you can either allow the government to take the taxes and spend it on Ukraine, or you can give it to something that you want to defend America. And that's how this is. So sign up. And please share these episodes. I need you to do that. I need you to go on, even if you don't go on YouTube, go on YouTube, find Stine Has Issues, subscribe to it. It's the only way we can ever generate some revenue to help grow it. So you don't even have to give. It'll come through ads. Ads are a pain in the neck. I don't like them either, but it allows us to do this, and it doesn't have to come out of your pocket. So we're working together as a team. So please share and subscribe. Hit the like button and the notification button on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook too. That's my biggest, largest platform. Believe it or not, I got over 500,000 followers. So we're trying to get to 1 million. So follow that. Share these episodes the next day. Send them out to all your friends. Let's see if we can grow this into something fascinating and fantastic. Wyatt, I'm going to get to our guest. Now, you were here because he was here live. Sometimes people Zoom, but sometimes they're here live. And he was here. What do you think about Gary Chapman?
Oh, that was a really interesting Two-parter. Yeah, very interesting.
Well, didn't you find it fascinating? And you're a musician, so did you find it interesting from a musician standpoint as well as an artistic standpoint?
I would say so, yeah.
What part was most intriguing? What most affected you? The personal things, though?
Probably, yeah, just because it comes so far left field.
Yeah, it does. We're going to bring up our guest today. His name is Gary Chapman. If you have been involved in the Christian CCM world, you'll know who he is. He's been around a long time. He's a wonderful songwriter, very funny guy. He had his own show on, was it TNN, I think, or Country Music Channel, something like that. He was a host. He was very funny. I remember seeing him on and thinking, hey, thank God they're letting a Christian have a host of a show. And he was funny and he was quick-witted. And so I really enjoyed it. And him and I ran into each other accidentally at a party by Kyle Sailors, who puts on these parties called Dinner with Dreamers. And he's a producer here in town. And I'd never met him. He came up to me and he said, you're a funny guy. And it's like, oh, I was really humbled by that. And I didn't know he'd even know who I was. But I thought he was a funny guy, so it was a nice compliment. Anyways, we became kind of friends, and I brought him on this podcast. And his story is fascinating. It's a two-parter. I've never done this before, but I'm doing it this week, and next week you'll get the second part. Because at first I just wanted to talk to him basically as a singer-songwriter. How do you do that? What is your muse? We've had a few singer-songwriters on here. Rebecca St. James has been on to you. Who else? Leonte, Nikki Leonte. I think somebody, I'm trying to think of somebody else off the cuff, that are artists, musicians. Oh, Bart Millard, and some, I know there's more, I need a list. But his story and who he was married to and how that panned out and things that happened in the public eye that this guy ended up enduring, much of which is information that maybe you guys accidentally, if you were in this business or listened to Christian music, kind of heard, kind of wondered what happened. You're going to find out, because he really is an open book, this dude. And this first part, this Monday, is kind of the artistic elements, his life, his history in the business. And then towards the end, it will move towards the next part of his life and what happened. And that will be next week, where that will go in depth and the scenario that took place and the things that took place. I didn't know. I was kind of shocked. I think he said some things he's never said on camera before. So Wyatt and I were both kind of sitting there going, holy smoke, okay, geez. But trust me, beautiful, beautiful story and a beautiful ending, a redemption that only God can do. So you guys, trust me, you're my friends. I don't know you, but I know you. I take it seriously when I try to bring people on that I think you'll like, that I think will inspire you. Trust me, you're going to love this. Hang on, just listen, enjoy it. If you're an artist, you're a songwriter, you're going to love it from that standpoint. If you're a Christian, you're going to love it. If you're not a Christian, you're going to see the pain that we go through trying to walk this thing out. It ain't easy. And you must watch the whole thing today so that you'll really get the context and see what's coming next week. So it's a first time in Brad Stine Has Issues podcast history, a two-parter, episode 1 and episode 2 next week. So please, guys, trust me when I say one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. And you'll see why right now, as Brad Stine Has Issues brings you my interview with Gary Chapman. So on Brad Stine Has Issues, it's very, very important that I bring in the most eclectic amount of guests I can. And, you know, it's funny because people say, you're going to bring on a bunch of comedians or whatever, because I'm a comic. And the truth is, I've rarely brought on a comedian. Not that I'm not interested in them, but I'm more interested in people who aren't comedians, because I've been around comedians my whole life so many times that I'm actually interested in people that do things I don't do. People that are good at things I'm not good at. That's what's interesting to me. And one thing I've always tried to do is really reach the artists. They're the most important, interesting people to me, artistic people, because we're weird and quirky and idiosyncratic and difficult to live with and sociopathic and crazy and lunatics, but we changed the world. And so, my mistake on this. Yeah, I guess I was knocking on wood subconsciously. But I do like to bring on people that are creative, interesting, and people that I know personally, and I don't always know them. I get to meet them for the first time. But this particular person I happen to know, you know, I want to bring on people that are creative, artistic, groundbreaking, and really have a lot to say. But if I can't find people like that, I bring Gary Chapman. And that's who I'm going to bring it on right now. Folks, please welcome Gary Chapman, singer-songwriter, and a good friend of mine. How are you, brother?
Are you trying to say I'm not funny?
You're very funny, actually.
I mean, you're just like, I'm not going to have any comedians. No funny people. We're not going to do that. We're going to do idiot artists.
People that have
stumble through life.
No other options. I'm an artist because I have to
Hey.
march to my own drummer and say, you don't even have a drummer.
I want to paint that. Yeah, I need a drummer. You know any?
Actually, my son Wyatt's a drummer,
There you go.
believe it or not. He's actually quite good. But anyways, Gary Chapman, great to have you, buddy. We got to first meet a few years ago, I think, for the first time. Actually, I don't know if you remember the first time I actually met you.
Was I
personally.
comatose?
No. You were in the gutter.
I am old.
I wiped off the puke and
Nice.
and put on a new shirt and made you presentable.
Put a 20 in my
I
pocket.
sure did, because I didn't know where you were going to go off wandering, and I knew you were going to eat some Taco Bell. But no, the first time we actually met face to face was at Kyle Saylor's cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Thing, dinner with dreamers, or gathering of dreamers, or whatever it is, and you actually introduced yourself to me, or you saw me or something, and came over, and I think you said something like, I remember this. You said something like, "Oh, you're a very funny guy," or something like that. But I only say that because that was a compliment.
I don't say it often, honestly.
Well, it was
I have a lot of comedian friends.
Yeah, well, but I want you to know something. I do remember that. See, there's it's such an interesting path artists take, because on the one hand, we want to be appreciated, we want to be liked, because all we have to give is our art. That's kind of what we give, but it's very personal.
Yep.
So how people respond to that, you can't not take personally, because my product isn't a widget.
Right.
It's me.
Yep.
And so when you reject me, you reject or
reject
my art,
yeah.
you're rejecting me, which isn't necessarily the case, because art is subjective.
Yeah, I used to believe that. I don't anymore.
So tell me about
You need
it.
to be older.
What does that even mean?
Here's what it means.
Okay.
As you get older, you come to, in the very most godly, beautiful way imaginable, you just stop giving a rip what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
It's why old guys wear black socks at the beach.
Yes. Amen.
It's so,
take that.
You just don't care. So I'm just telling you, that's waiting for you.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. I spent most of my life in that place, yes.
Well, but
What do you mean you don't like that song?
Yeah,
it's the best thing I've ever written.
Yeah. Well, I think there was a guy. I always forget the dude's name, and I hate that because he deserves to be. He was a sci-fi writer. Anyways, I watched a documentary on this guy. He was a sci-fi writer, and anyways, like in the '60s,
Right. Roddenberry?
No, it wasn't Roddenberry, but it was a guy that has that kind of cachet. Anyways, but he had written a novel or a book or something, maybe in the 50s, maybe in the 60s. He got a letter, of course that was prior to email, whatever, from Dorothy
L'Amour?
Dorothy Sayer, one of the, now I've forgotten her name, one of the famous sarcastic writers, maybe of the 30s.
So not from The Wizard of Oz?
Not from that, no.
Okay.
Holy smoke, I'm so sorry that I've forgotten everybody's name.
Makes it He's getting old before your very eyes, folks.
But she was a very respected...
Yeah.
Oh,
You almost got it.
Just
You
so
almost
it was
had
like there, and
It'll
they
be
said,
there.
nah,
Stop
we're going to
thinking
hide
about-
behind your...
Stop thinking about it, and you'll think of it.
That's it.
That's the way it works.
Parker.
Hello?
You worked!
I'm telling
See,
you.
the old guy knows how to
old
direct
guy
the old
knows.
people. Two old guys going, where's the cliff?
Just stop thinking about it.
Dorothy Parker, famous
Yes,
writer.
yes.
Anyways, but very well respected, very funny. Anyway, she commented on this book, and she'd read about this, and he didn't know her. But she said, man, that was a wonderful book. I really appreciate it. And he looked at the camera and he said, you're not a writer until a writer tells you you're a writer. And I go...
It does make a difference. It does make a difference.
So when a comedian says you're funny, that matters to me, because that's my peer.
So what I said didn't actually.
It did.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why.
I'm funny.
So years ago, You had a show on television.
I did.
Was it CMT?
It was TNN.
TNN.
The Nashville Network.
That's right.
Before it literally vanished overnight.
But this was in the 90s, or was it the 90s?
94 through 99, basically.
Okay, but so here's the thing. I saw this show. I don't remember how I saw it. I don't know if it was on TV or what. It must have been because
It was.
the internet
5
wasn't
nights
the
a
big
week.
thing. But I stumbled upon it. And because I'm not a country fan or whatever, but I stumbled upon it. But two things grabbed me. A, you're a Christian.
I am.
So I said to myself, they're letting Christians have mainstream. So that made me excited. They're
Yeah.
giving us
Yeah.
a place at the table.
They
Now, this is
never-
in the 90s, so that's way gone now. But even then, that was still sort of teetering, and they let you on. So that made me excited. But secondly, you're funny. I'm going, he's good. He's not trying to be funny, which is what you get from most Christians.
Yeah.
You're funny, and there's a difference. And so that's why when you said to me, and you found me in the crowd, probably because I had no pants, which is typical when I go to a party.
Yeah.
I respected that because I knew that you were an artist, and you were giving me an artist's vetting,
Right,
and I
right.
appreciated that more. Not that I don't want the audience
No,
to
no, no,
laugh.
I get it.
I'm just saying. So
it's
that's
a reciprocal thing, too. When you say that story to me, something to me goes, well, that's cool. That's a little cooler than some guy just saying.
because we know the difference.
For me in particular, having to do with comedy, I'm not a comedian. I'm not.
You're not a stand-up comedian.
I got no material. I'm a responder. I respond to the things around me, to the given moments.
Yeah.
And I tend to do it fast enough that I'm probably quicker than most of the people in the room. So it gives you the appearance
Very much so.
of being funny. And it's kind of just
But
observation.
you did, and I'll bet you can find clips on YouTube of this show.
Oh,
I
all
guess
over
it's
the
gotta
place.
Be all over.
Oh,
but
there's
the
tons.
point is that
Google Dolly Parton and me.
Okay.
Oh, dude.
Was that a good session?
Oh my gosh.
What was so great about it?
So she has become a friend, over the years, and so when I personally knew because it was a big production. There was 100 people on the crew. I mean, it was
Where was it filmed?
at the Studio A at the Opry House.
Okay, so it's here in town. Okay.
Yeah. So and then we took it on the road. We went to Vegas 1 month out of the year because you couldn't find a country artist here because the NFR finals was going on there or the ACM awards, and during those weeks there was no country artist here. Anyway, we went all over, but that was home. And I knew between the audio guys on the crew, they would literally cast lots to see who got to mic her up for all the obvious reasons.
Right.
And so she came walking out, the crowd goes nuts because it's Dolly. She's kind of perfect guest. She's ridiculous. So way funny. So she comes out and plops down, and immediately she says hello, but she's kind of just ignoring me. She's just messing with, again, the obvious. She's just like fidgeting and stuff, and I was like, it was long enough that I needed to say, as the observer,
interject.
as the observation guy in the room, are you okay over there? Can I help you? Which she's like, gives me a little look, like, don't touch these.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I'll be fine. I'm just not sure about the microphone. I'll tell you what, I'll talk into the right one, you talk into the left one, and we'll be fine. Okay, then it's on. It degraded from that moment.
I will say this. Obviously, I don't know her because I'm not connected like you are, and you made sure we all knew how connected you are to Dolly.
Sure I did.
And that's important, I think.
Well, if you're going to look at the clip, you're going to see me.
Yes.
Be weird if I hadn't set you up.
Yes, it would be, in fact, and maybe we'll find that clip and show it. I don't know. Why do you think we can find the Dolly clip?
Oh, you can find it.
Wyatt?
Yeah. we can
Okay,
find
I'm
that,
sorry.
sure.
If
So
you
I wasn't
ever-
expecting to be, talking in
Right.
your interview.
If you ever hear,
But you are.
Yes.
Well,
Which is-
and I'm really not sure what I'm going to be saying next because I don't have anything prepared.
Yes, and you never do. If anything lags, if any button is pushed that is inappropriate, if some crazy sound goes off, it's my son and his incompetence.
I like that.
But anyways, but we acknowledge that regularly on. But Dolly Parton, I didn't really bring you on to talk about Dolly, but she's more important than you.
She
So
is
let's talk about
by a
Dolly.
mile.
But when I have watched her, and since you know her, maybe this might be interesting, folks, because you'll give them some maybe backstories that others wouldn't have known. This woman is very savvy.
Oh.
She knows exactly what she's doing.
Every moment.
And she has navigated her career as like a genius. She has worked this thing of
opportunity
perfectly. I mean, am I right?
You're
this girl's
100%
got to be
right.
more savvy than we have any knowledge of what she's up to.
She's more savvy than you know because you're thinking about the Dolly you see.
Yeah.
The
Which
Dolly-
she's crafted.
The Dolly you don't see is one of the smartest business women on the planet.
Clearly.
She absolutely doesn't lose. She doesn't.
She's got the Midas touch.
When she decides to do it, she has already figured out how it's not going to just work. It's going to kill.
Yeah, yeah.
And she does it.
But you can't pull that off if you don't have the goods.
No, you can't.
So what in the world? I mean, so you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
She's a songwriter.
She's a great songwriter.
So let's talk about that.
I'll always love you.
I mean, can you
Hello.
imagine? Can you imagine? But so people will come to me, and I've known probably of all the type of performance artists I've known. For some reason, I think I've known more musicians. For some reason, maybe comics, but mainly musicians for whatever reason. Actors, because I do acting and so forth along that line. But to a man, Gary, like they all say the same thing. What they fear, and we're talking about very successful artists, very good. They are mind-boggled by stand-up comedy. I don't know what it is about, but they're like, that I could never. They're just like it's a different category. I don't know. I don't get it.
It kind of is. I mean, you referenced having your pants off at the party. You have your pants off every time you get up on stage as a stand-up guy. I see it. I see I have my pants off in the people's eyes.
Yeah.
Now, the guys that become great at it, they've simply become comfortable with having their pants off.
Yeah.
You know? But it's very revealing. There's no, hey, let me have the piano player riff on something for a couple of minutes while I get my act together. It's you. And that's it.
And that's what I was talking about earlier about the person of your art that is attached.
Now, a singer-songwriter guy that just gets up with a guitar and nothing else, it's kind of musical stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
It is. I do that.
Yes.
But I've got that pacifier. The giant pacifier that I'm holding, I can always just go. Yeah,
True.
Okay,
especially if you're in a band, though, but not if you're a solo artist. There's
No.
There's nowhere to hide. But
oh no, I can hide behind that guitar. I do it. I can just start playing. I play relatively well. I've been doing it started when I was 6.
You mean if you go off on a
Some
solo
piece.
as opposed to
Some instrumental
vocals.
piece? Yes. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, I mean, we're all over the map here but I'm trying to sort of dial in on where I was going with this, but it's all making sense. The reason I brought up the stand-up thing was because, for whatever reason, it seems that people consider that the most challenging or dangerous type of performance. And I'm only going by what people telling me. I don't know what else to say. But here's what I was going to get at. I believe that God gifts people with certain talents. Now, you still have to refine it. You still have to work it. You still have to figure out how to do it. Just because you have an athletic prowess doesn't mean you can suddenly be a major league player. You still got to figure this game out and go apply it. But some people have the innate stuff and some don't. That's just the way it is.
That's true.
And so I believe that one problem humans have is we don't ever honor our gift like we do others because it's a gift. It feels too easy. This can't be a big deal. You just do comedy. I don't know what to tell you. Just be funny.
Right.
And they're like going, you don't get it. I can't connect those dots because there aren't any.
Right.
So I don't know how else to think. If I happen to be funny and know how to put those pieces together, and it comes extemporaneously without sort of a volition that I'm aware of,
right,
then it feels like it's not hard.
It's like
I don't
breathing.
know what else to
it's
think.
Like breathing. I
I
say it
can't
all the
not
time.
think this way.
I say it all the time. Somebody will come up and say, "Man, that was great tonight. You did an amazing job," and it's like breathing to me.
Yes.
I do not think about it.
Yes.
I don't.
But if I, like, to me, and I love music, my favorite instrument is piano. I just feel like if I could play a piano, any instrument, I feel like it's the most versatile. I think it's the most beautiful.
It is.
I just think piano's the coolest.
It's just hard to carry around.
It is hard.
That's
It's
it.
difficult.
Yeah.
And not that I wouldn't try.
Oh,
not
you
that
would?
I wouldn't do it if necessary. Yeah. But I just feel like a great pianist, I could go to them, or just even outside that world, a heart surgeon, or a nuclear physicist, I mean, crazy crap, and say, "Oh my God, how do you do?" And they will literally look at me with that, yeah, but you do stand up. I go, "You can't be, not even this,
Exactly.
what are you talking about? My thing means if stand-up comedy ends tomorrow, maybe it'd be a less laughable world, but who cares?
Oh,
we don't
would care.
Well, but I'm not keeping you alive. I'm not changing your heart. I'm not changing your tire. I'm not. I think there are some things in life that have a little bit more weight. I would say music is more important than comedy.
Totally disagree. 100%.
You're not allowed to disagree on my. Didn't we? Why didn't we
I'm
tell
sorry,
them?
I did not get an
Did you
email.
not send him the writer? There's no disagreement.
did not.
In the contract.
I know
I'm surprised
it.
you didn't.
Crying
It's
out.
the contract I didn't sign.
Well, it was the fine print, so you know.
Exactly. So I can't read.
Well, and
I'm old. I didn't have my
Well, but I
glasses.
think what your response.
I'm saying what comedy in general, what comedy brings to this planet, and the value that it has to the human soul is, in my mind, definitely on par with music. You don't have an idea what this place would be like if people couldn't laugh.
Yeah.
It would be,
Of course.
Well, I'm thinking Russia comes to mind. I mean,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
North Korea.
Even better.
Yeah.
Maybe Ukraine at this moment.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm not anti.
They're still singing over there too.
Yes, it's true. To the great leader. I believe that because I believe as a Christ follower that we're made in the image of God, then any element of the human character is breathed from the Creator.
It
so
is.
obviously God has a sense of humor because He gave it to us. Obviously He has music because He gives it to us. So I'm not diminishing that it has value or that laughing isn't a wonderful. It allows you to experience joy, which is something that is a unique human experience. Animals don't have that.
Right.
So I'm not in any way acting like laughter isn't beautiful or important or great. Maybe this is an easier way to frame it, but I can listen to a song and I'll never forget where I was the first time I heard it. I was driving through a thing and I remember thinking that, and I broke up with her, that was. And then you can listen to comedy and laugh. Nobody goes to their wedding and says, "Hey, can you do our joke? Can you tell our joke?"
Yes, sir.
But they'll say, "Can you play our song?"
Right.
So music
But
has
when they get a couple of
something-
drinks in them at the reception, the jokes are going to fly.
I'm not diminishing the value of comedy. I'm just saying that, and again, we're kind of way out
is
in
more
the weeds.
emotionally driven.
But music has a deeper resonance because nobody's going to weep probably at a joke. But a song can do that. A song can bring laughter, but it can just reach so many elements. The point is, it doesn't matter. We're all important. We all have a value. I'm just saying that I don't know how else to think, but in funny ways. It's unnatural, and like you said, to music. So you don't sit there and go, "I'm going to write a song. Oh my God, how dare myself even have the audacity to pretend like I can write." You don't do that. You go, I can write songs. It might be hard, and I don't necessarily know where I'm going.
This is an interesting line of conversation if you want to pursue it.
Well, it is, because the muse, where you find that thing, I believe, how dare I say that to an actual songwriter?
I'm probably going to confirm what you're saying.
I believe the song is already out there, and all you did is find it.
Thank you.
I don't
So-
think you wrote it. I think God put it out there and you found it. You tuned in.
Okay, now I can't tell my story.
Okay, tell your story.
Now I can, because I actually know what I'm talking about.
You do indeed.
No, I moved to this town when I was 19 years old. That was 47 years ago, dude. 47. The first song I got cut went #1, and I liked it.
What was it?
Father's Eyes.
Oh, that Amy Grant song.
That girl, yes. So I just kept doing it because I enjoyed it. It was fun.
That's
and
the first song you wrote
Yes.
in your whole life. That was
The first song I got cut.
Okay, okay. So
But it was one of the very first I wrote, actually.
And how old were you? Do you think when you wrote it?
Probably 20, maybe.
Oh, okay, so a young guy.
Yeah.
So not necessarily
Until-
shouldn't
until
have
I-
had the depth.
No, until I got to Nashville, I had written a couple of things, but they were like, I was the guy that could finish the dirty lyric quicker than anybody else in the class, right? The limerick or whatever. But then I started. I fell in love with writing songs. A lady named Dottie Rambo, who, if you're not,
I know.
okay, legend. I was their second job I had in this town was playing guitar and pedal steel for them. And she just inspired me, man. I just got, first time in my life, I guess, I got truly fascinated and was around a really great songwriter.
Dottie.
Yes. And it just intrigued me. So I started trying to write songs. And we would drive down the road and, on the way to the next gig. And every now and then I'd walk up to the front lounge and she'd be sitting there and I'd sit down with the guitar and, you want to listen to this? And she'd, oh, sure, honey. And I'd play it. And it'd be, that second line in that first verse, you really need to work on that. Is there a bridge to this song? I mean, she didn't co-write. She just kind of would urge it.
Steered the
nudge
ship
it along.
yeah.
Yes. And that went on for a good while. And I finally, one day I walked up and said, I've got something I'd like to play for you. She said, absolutely, let's hear it. And for the first time, I played a song top to bottom, and she didn't have anything to say, except, that's a good song, honey. Why don't you sing that tonight in the concert? I'm like, I'm the pedal steel player. I'm not the singer. And she said, no, I'm going to call on you to do that. I want the people to hear that song. And I didn't think she would do it. She did. Long story short, she calls me, I get up, I do the thing. And at the end of it, you've come to know this reality. When the audience wants to show you their ultimate appreciation, there's a thing called a standing ovation. And there's different kinds of standing ovations. There's a few people in the crowd really thought you were amazing, so they'll stand up, and then the people around them kind of go, yeah, I guess
Do we have to do
stand.
this?
I guess, yeah. It's a little reluctant, And then there's what I call the popcorn. It's like, pah, everybody bang.
Like
up.
they can't resist.
Whoa, I'm up. It was that. And she never asked me to sing again. It's the truth. It's the absolute truth. So it was actually, that was the best thing that ever happened, because something in me went, oh, okay.
What was the song?
Father's Eyes.
That was Father's Eyes.
It was.
That was its debut.
So I absolutely, I quit that job. In about 3 months, I quit and starved for a year and a half or so, sharing a one-bedroom apartment with 3 other guys in Hendersonville, and you know the drill. And finally got a cut, and it was that song. Wow. But the writing songs became very, very important to me. I just knew it's something that I could do, and I worked at it. It is a craft.
Yeah.
So, I worked really hard at it. I would do at least 2, sometimes 3 sessions a day, co-write sessions, or just time that I would meticulously set aside and discipline myself to work during that time, because I wanted to be a great songwriter. And it took me probably maybe 5 or 6 years to have the first experience. And then after that, I would have this experience that I'll tell you about in a minute. Every 2 or 3 years. That lasted for 40 plus years. About 20 years into it, it occurred to me that those songs that came about through that process were the ones that maybe they're hits. Some of them were. Some of them were not, but they're songs that this minute, today, if I walk outside and the next door guy sees me and says, "Oh, are you Gary Chapman?" This song, and he'll start talking about a song, and it's one of those songs. Okay, I describe it as stepping off a curb and a song-shaped bus that you did not see coming just mows you down. It's just gone. And as fast as I can either write it down or pick up a guitar and play it, it just pours out.
I can't help you with that.
I can't help you with that either, honey. Was that me or you? Was that her?
Wyatt, did you hear that?
Yeah, apparently Siri wants to join into the interview.
I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell her that we're doing an interview here on my podcast, and that she's no longer welcome, unless she can give us a song that she's written.
Yeah, she may.
Okay, fine. Siri, do you have a song for us?
Never mind. Please don't get us started on that rabbit hole.
Trust me, that song will suck.
Yeah.
No, it's just God's not so subtle way of reminding us, me in this case, that I'm not all that important in the process. It's Him. It's all Him. And when I hear a great song that I feel like it's kind of in my wheelhouse, in my mind, I sort of just kick myself. I was like, what was I doing that day? Because I know that thing floated by me and I was fishing or something. I missed it, right?
You mean another song you might listen to and feel like that
Absolutely.
that could have been your
Absolutely.
song? Interesting.
And if those songs haven't been cut, I cut them. When you look at my discography and you see, who wrote what on my records, it's mostly me, or co-writes with friends that I love and respect, or it's another song. And those other songs, those are songs that I heard the first time I heard them. I went, dang it, I should have written that.
Yeah, well, see, that's interesting because to me, the ultimate compliment to a comic when you listen to him is not that was funny, because that's supposed to be what you do, is you do funny things, and there's something about the arts that I think is kind of a double-edged sword. Once you are proficient at a particular art form, in some ways it can take away some of the joy of what it was, because now you're seeing it technically, like you're analyzing it a bit. Oh, I like the way they use the bass on that. Ooh, I like that different. Oh, listen to the meter on that drumming behind. Oh, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you turn it into its components instead of the beauty of just enjoy the song, just like the song, and enjoy that moment. And so to me, the ultimate compliment is you hear a joke and you go, why didn't I think of that?
What was I doing?
Why didn't I think of that?
What was I doing?
So it's very similar. It's kind of like, but that's the point. That must be what we discovered here, is it was always out there. And one guy, it's like a radio, and you go and, hello, everybody. It's like, I found it. And I could have found it, but I didn't. Now, maybe it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, here's the
or
way I see
I
it.
wasn't looking.
I've thought about this a lot. Here's the way I see it at this point in my path. God is not limited by time or space. He was here before there were days. He made the days.
Yeah.
He was here from the first one to this one, and he'll be here when they stop. He's not limited, and he is the creator.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He lets us experience that, and how we do or don't choose to experience that creative process, which can be anything, quite frankly. How we do or don't embrace and experience and use properly that creative process makes us either more like him or less like him. So I think it's all been done. I think not been done, but it's all there. It's all there. And it's a weird way to look at it, but God does not look down at eternity and go, where are we?
Yeah. Right. What's going on?
And
did I nap?
Yeah.
Well, do you think he's sad sometimes when a song is written and he goes, "Oh, Gary, that was yours"?
Yeah,
Why
I
didn't
do.
you listen?
I do.
Yeah.
Not sad like he's going to kick me out of heaven,
Yeah.
but like, you know what, dude, you missed an opportunity. I think when I have that thought, dang it, I should have wrote that. I think that's his thought.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I believe that all thoughts are we have access to thoughts because God gives us access to His mind. I think that's how we get
we
it.
have two voices that come to our heads. One of them we should listen to. The other one we need to tell to shut the hell up.
Well, and we don't because
I do.
Okay. Well,
I'm mad at that sucker.
yeah.
I tell him shut up all day long.
Yeah. But he sometimes slips in. I mean, that's the journey that we struggle with. Well, we talked about started with Dolly and her attributes. And then, for some reason, we always need to, and I definitely didn't want to make it about that, but it got us in some very interesting conversations, especially about art and just discovering the art and our particular skill sets. When I watched, since we're talking about songwriting, one of my biggest appreciations of Paul McCartney, and he's written a couple.
He has.
He
was on acid at the time.
Yeah,
but yes.
nevertheless.
Right.
But I'm thinking to myself, he became world famous, I think, around 1963 with the Ed Sullivan thing.
Yep.
And he was 20-something. So literally from that moment on, he wouldn't have known that you will never be normal again.
No.
You will never be able to walk into the store again and just buy some gum without somebody.
That's him.
That's it. By far, this much of his life, he's been this other thing, and it's got to be an odd thing to be as a human, and you got to navigate that and maybe overcome the pride and the expectation that you deserve it, because, especially when you're young. You get too much when you're young, man. You just don't know how to deal with it. You just don't know how to handle it. You take it. You actually believe you deserve it, and whatever.
And you don't.
But here's what I was thinking. I've listened to conversations or interviews this guy's had over the years, starting in the 60s, so 70s, 80s, 90s, 0s, 10s, 50s, 70 years. 70?
Give or take.
Could that be true? That this man has had 100,000 interviews, I'm guessing?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. And they're always asking the same crap. And it's got to have the Beatles in it. And the guy, by far, was with Wings in his solo career way longer than he was ever with the Beatles.
Yes.
But the Beatles why not? It was such an influential part of his life and the culture of pop music. But the thing that most impresses me about him is not the songs he wrote. They were amazing. But every time they ask him a question that I know he's heard, literally thousands of times, he answers it as though he's never heard the question. Yeah, it's funny because, for example, to me the classic is Yesterday. Everybody knows, if you have done anything in music, that he got that from a dream. He said it a billion times.
Yeah.
I had a dream, and then I get around and say, hey, does anybody know what that song is? Because he didn't know what it was. And he thought it had to be because it was just there. And it is the most covered pop song in history. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
It's been the most covered by the most artists. But they'll talk about this stuff, and he'll tell that story like, oh, nobody's ever asked me about Yesterday.
Right.
And I give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Because he realizes he owes his fans,
Yeah.
I think, the respect that they give him, irrespective of if you think you deserve it.
I think that's absolutely true. I also think he owes himself to always tell that obviously particularly special moment the respect that it deserves for having been allowed to live it, to dream it, to write it. I did not write Yesterday, but I've got stories. I have questions that I get asked that people say, oh, I've heard him say that before. Well, of course you have. It's the same dang story. And I'm a storyteller, so if I do it well once, I'm probably going to do it the same way next time, or maybe try to improve it a bit without lying. But I do know that feeling of just
But don't you
asked.
think that? So I've had this happen to me before, and I'm not famous. I mean, I'm famous.
That's not true.
Well, in my little genre, maybe.
In this room, dude.
Yes, that's true. What?
That's it.
Why am I huge? I knew it. All right, never mind.
I mean, define huge.
Yes, I don't know. I was hoping you would just give me some. This is my son. He exuded from my loins, so I would think he'd give me more respect.
Nope.
But there's
You'd
nothing.
think that, unfortunately, with every loins joke, my respect is sort of dipped a tiny bit.
I understand. All right. Well, anyway, so I'm going to keep you out of my interviews from now on.
He's funny.
He is very funny.
Sorry.
He's my sidekick. But here's what I learned. Okay, so when I began to start making concert videos, and so suddenly you're getting a broader reach because people have seen you that you've never met, you know. But and I would get this a lot. It'd be like a family that was huge, and I'd realize you got to be homeschooled, right? Yeah, we're homeschooled, and they grew up on me because the parents have to find things that their kids can watch that they approve of, that they think has some value.
Sure.
So he can laugh, but this guy's thinking about things because I've always done that sort of conservative point of view. My Judeo-Christian worldview is social commentary, so my comedy's always been odd in that regard. But it fits that people that want that kind of content because they had nowhere else to go.
That's
and
true.
so I was the only game in town. But they meet you with this odd countenance that isn't just like, hey, good to meet you, can I say? It's like, it's him. Now, I know I'm just me. So I know I'm no... Trust me when I tell you.
He's not kidding.
There's nothing here that is of any intrigue. There's nothing for you. But the magic of media, for whatever reason, Gary, when they've heard you a million times on the radio, when they've seen you on this thing, when they see you live, it's like magic or something. Like there is the guy. Because we grew up with him. I don't know anything about these. I filmed that thing and then I let it go and I went off to create my next album, which is all that interests me.
Of course.
Is the next one.
Absolutely.
Because I've done that.
Yep.
God bless you. But can I do something else? Tired of that joke.
Yeah.
Please, may I do this? But to them, that mattered to them. It somehow, for whatever reason, touched them. They grew up with it. They laughed about it. There's some joke like, put a helmet on. They would all, our whole family would say, put a helmet on. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was part of your family's vernacular. I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So my thing was, I know I'm nobody, but if you took time to go buy a ticket to see me, to drive somewhere, to get a babysitter, to do sometimes hours to see, which seriously, I'm not joking. It mind boggles. I'm not worth that, but okay. I believe I owe them the respect they see me as. Not that I see myself as, because I'm honored.
Sure.
See, I want to be popular, not famous.
Boy, you said a mouthful there. I'm currently mildly and formerly famous. And I like it a lot more than when I was, on television in front of a million or two people every night. Trust me, it's a much better life. It is.
Yeah, because popular to me means they like you and you can do your work. But famous puts on
different.
something that I don't want that guy.
Well,
I want to be
worship.
Bernie Taupin.
That's worship.
I want to be Bernie Taupin.
Yeah.
Get the same money, get the same accolades. Nope, I can walk in and say,
Do you know Bernie?
I don't. Do you?
He's awesome.
You know Bernie?
I do, yes.
Oh,
he's awesome. He's a good
That's
dude.
ridiculous. Why do you know Bernie Taupin?
Because he's a great songwriter.
But you're a
dude.
Christian artist.
Well, am I? You need to talk to more Christians.
Yes.
Dude, I didn't leave Christian music. It left me, so,
Well, let's talk about it then. Christian music, an odd genre.
It is to me.
Sometimes I think lacking sophistication. Sometimes, oh God, how do I say this? Because I don't want it to sound...
Oh, I can sound very critical.
Well, but here's the thing, Gary. I don't want to sound like that I'm the arbiter of sophistication.
We're all our own individual arbiters of everything. That's part of being who you are.
Yeah.
Whether or not you use that as a weapon and trying to convince somebody that that's how they should think, that's different. That's different.
Well, but I don't want people to give the impression that I am demeaning someone who that was their genre. They want to be part of. And I've worked with all these guys at concerts and things over the years, and and so they're all good for the most part. The ones I've known in the Christian are just good men and women of God who are trying to do the best they can. They don't think highly of themselves.
Right.
But praise and worship, for example, is just this odd form of music that is just for us. If a regular music a file came in and listened to praise and worship, they'd be like, I don't understand I don't know where the category is. I don't even know what this is. It's not like gospel.
No, it's not.
Right? It's not like R&B. It's not like blues. It's not like all the other elements. And gospel, by the way, belongs in the same category of respect as blues and R&B because it
Definitely.
created rock and roll. It created
And
everything.
blues and R&B.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But that's different than pop version of worship to God, of the repeating of the same song.
Yeah.
You read 2 lines of a hymn. It's a sermon. It's like, how did you do that? The hardest thing to me as a songwriter that I'm not is how much can I pack into 4 or 5 words?
That's it. That's it.
How do you do it?
To write a song without an ounce of fat on it is
How do you do
always
that?
the goal.
Do you trim the fat, or does somebody have to sort of give you notes to help?
No, I trim the fat.
How do you know where to go? How do you know where that is?
Because I hate the fat.
How do you know where it is?
I see the fat.
How do you know how to kill your darlings? How do you know that what you are hanging on to is
You have to be vicious.
Well, how can you differentiate between the fat and the and what's necessary?
You absolutely feel it. I know it immediately. I can look at, like I co-write a lot, and if somebody brings a lyric to the table, which is rare, I've got one co-writer that does it with regularity, and she's stinking brilliant. So
Just brings you
lyrics.
That's
Just a lyric.
So that's a burning topic.
Yeah,
That's what he did
exactly
with
right.
Elton John. Here's the lyrics, good luck.
Sometimes they don't rhyme, but again, that's like breathing for me. I'm a word guy, and I can look at it and go, okay, let's change this and this and that and that, and then, Bob's your uncle. So
So it's instinctual.
it is.
Instinctual to
I
you
can
now.
feel it. I can feel it, but I always could.
Okay, well, that's what I'm curious about, because the thing about comedy, and I'm only using this as a reference point, it's all I have.
Well, here, this will help you.
Okay.
Same reference point for comedy I would expect. The number one rule for me, I heard this from somebody literally probably 40 years ago. Number one rule in entertainment, and it applies to creativity as well in my mind. Never leave them wanting less. Never.
Yeah, right.
Never. Don't ever be on stage and
Yeah,
get to that point and you go, dang it, I should have left
Yes.
2 songs ago.
And
when
we-
you're writing,
But we see, what we're hearing the accolades with the
No,
the
but
vibes
you
like,
can't- that's why
I
you-
need to get more of that, insisting, just leave it right there.
that's why you can't you can't let that drive you.
Yeah.
You got to let this drive you. And if you do that, as a songwriter, you will look down at a lyric and go, oh, wow, that's got to go. Yep, that's going. That's go. I have had finished songs that I would come back to a week later and just look at it and go, nope. And
Yes.
literally wad it up
But you
and
needed
throw
that
it away.
perspective of-
But
of-
for a
of
moment,
walking away
I
from
really thought it was,
That's why I meant, how do you know where the fat is?
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe you needed fresh eyes with it. Because what I was going to say about comedy was the problem about comedy compared to the other arts, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've said this for years, so if I'm wrong, don't say
Please
that,
don't.
because it'll
Please
make me
don't.
look like an
That's
idiot.
true. Yeah. You're
I
wrong.
said stand-up comedy is the only performance art I'm aware of that you have to rehearse in front of the audience.
that's true.
So, because the only way I know if the rhythms are proper, if it's got too much fat, if I've used the wrong word, if I'm not getting the proper thing, is I have to say it and then hear what if they're going to kind of give it back and they're going to laugh or they're not, and I'm going to say, why didn't that work? But when you start, here's the problem. I don't know if I'm funny. I think I am. But what if I just suck and they're not laughing because I'm not good? And you have to decide, do you have the cojones to stay up there
Yeah.
and keep doing it? Because I know I do. I am funny.
You're gonna do it
I
till
just
it's
haven't
funny.
figured it out yet. But you have to decide if I do have the goods. I just haven't figured out how to refine
I will
it yet.
push back barely on it being the only genre.
Well,
I think
so explain it to me.
music as a band, like if you're a band and you've got a record and you go out and you do your deal and you hope the show works, and if it does, it does, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're going to do another show, and it's going to be the same show, right?
Yeah.
Singer-songwriters, however, if you're like in those writers in the round kind of thing, there's three or four people, and you kind of rotate and do your deal. You don't know if it's going to, because there's a lot of new songs that get presented in those things.
Yeah.
And you don't know until it gets heard.
Yes. Okay.
And somebody says, oh my gosh, did you hear that thing? Until you get that, you don't really know. I think I do, because I've been doing it so long. I trust my opinion. I do, because it has brought me to this Very comfortable seat, by the way.
Well,
Thank you
and
for
this
chair.
podcast would have had to be the epitome.
This
of
is
what
it.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm actually announcing my retirement. At
And
this moment.
I'm not. I'm going to shut
It's
down the
downhill from
podcast
here.
because what kind of
It's
guest
over.
is going to fill
Over.
this shoes?
This is it.
Well-
I wondered how it would end.
This is it, right on live TV. Well, what I guess what I was trying to analyze was that comedy kind of needs that immediate response. So I'm not a musician. I can play guitar a little bit or what, enough that I've kind of done praise and worship years ago at a church. So I've kind of done, but certainly not at the level of you all. But it's not completely foreign to me. But here's what I'm getting at. If I decide to start a band, I can get in my garage and put the band together and write some songs or do covers, whatever we're doing.
Right.
We can play it back and go, well, we did the song right. We hit the right notes. It's in key. Its own thing. Doesn't mean everybody's gonna like it, but I can still say that was done right, right? And then it's up to whether people want it to or not. Comedy kind of needs the audience to begin to edit for us. It kind of needs that immediate thing to figure out the game, and so I just feel like in that regard, because most comedy, if it doesn't work, isn't going to work 5 years from now. But there's artists out there, and you would know more than me because guys that are great artists will know a lot of the underground guys or the less respected guys that are just and say, oh, you got to listen to so and I might go, and you go, you don't get it.
Right.
What that is, you don't understand. He did that in 1962.
Yeah, do you know a guy named Michael Kelly Blanchard?
I had him on. I was going to call him. Why have we contacted Michael Kelly yet about being on the show?
Yeah.
And did he respond?
Thumbs up. Yeah. Well, good.
You're gonna love it.
Immediately after
He's
this one.
once you see him, you'll realize because maybe you haven't seen an image yet. He's dead. No, he's not. But he's in his 80s.
Okay.
And he is in my mind, having worked with the legends, dude, down through time. I know a bunch of crazy great Hall of Fame monster songwriters. Michael Kelly Blanchard's probably the best songwriter I'm aware of.
Yeah.
His ability to weave words into a story that will break your heart is unbelievable.
Well, give me a song I would know of his.
Daddy Cut My Hair.
I don't know that.
You've never heard it, and you should go to just put it in a.
Let me try something.
In iTunes, you go Gary Chapman, Daddy Cut My Hair, and listen to that song top to bottom. It's very long because he doesn't care if they fit on radio or not. It's like 6.5 minutes or so.
So here's what came into my mind.
It's going to kill you.
Here's what came into my mind.
Bring Kleenex. You're going to die.
Now, I don't know this song.
Right.
Never heard of it. You just threw that out.
Yeah.
I'm going to say what came to my mind. Just
Go.
a little experiment. For
Go.
I pictured a little girl in West Virginia, backwoods.
Right.
Didn't have any money.
Yep.
And maybe the mother had passed on. And they didn't have the money to go to a professional barber. So the father cut her hair and did it horribly, like bangs straight across and everything. And she went to school embarrassed and ashamed of it. But it was the best he had. And they were trying, and it's actually making me feel sad right now.
Yeah.
And I could be way off. But that's what I thought of when you said that.
Right.
And even if I'm wrong,
You are.
but it shows me
Exactly.
how
That's how it works.
Words.
You're wrong and you're right. First of all, in West Virginia, even when you go to a proper barber, that's the way they cut your hair. My wife's from there, so I can say this. She'll laugh. But it's a story about a guy. It starts out, Daddy cut my hair. He didn't care for style. He'd just snip and sweep it in a pile.
But that's what I was picturing, not doing a good
That's
job.
it.
Yeah.
This guy goes on to, they have a big falling out. He leaves home. They didn't speak. He went to Vietnam, had a horrible experience there like everybody else did. Yeah. He comes home. His mom has a stroke. He winds up having to take care of his dad toward the end. And he winds up cutting his dad's hair. And the way oh man, it just kills me listening to it. The way he pieces all that together is a masterpiece. It's just a masterpiece. So, yeah.
Well, so let's talk about your songs.
let's don't. No, you know what? This takes me somewhere. I want to finish.
Right.
One thing I started to say about the songs that hit you like a bus.
Yeah.
That happened in my mind, probably every 2 or 3 years, until 5 months ago. Something is happening that is messing with my head in a huge way. That lyricist that I referenced earlier, her name's Jill Rainford.
Yeah.
She's actually an author, a really good one. She's got a new book out called Refuge. Incredible. But, and it's not like a Christian book. It's kind of epic, timeless sort of thing. She didn't know that she had that gift. And she was a friend of my wife's. We met actually rehearsing for Christmas program last year at our church in the choir, right? And at one point, Cassie, my wife, brought me a preprint piece of her book and said, read this. It was the foreword of her book. And I read one page, and I was like, does she write songs? Because it was just her ability to do what I said Michael Kelly Blanchard can do, to take the available words and put them in the order that makes you just scream, who are you? And she did it. And she came up to me at a worship night right after at first I said, I have to do this. Then our church does like a 21-day fast to start the year. I don't recommend it. You're going to get very hungry.
Yeah, I don't go to
No,
that
it's
church
actually
for
great.
that reason.
It's actually great. But at the end of that, there's like a gathering, a worship night. And she came up to me and handed me her phone, and she had this lyric on her phone. I was like, what? And it's called There's Blood on the Tree. And I cannot tell you how beautiful it is. I can't. So we started getting together one day a week. Now, well, shoot, I said 5 months ago. That would make it more like 6 months ago now, whatever today is, because we started basically at end of February-ish. Every single time we get together, and we're actually getting together this afternoon, every time we get together, that bus shows up, and it happens so fast. It happens so fast. I will literally look at the lyric and if there are changes, I'll make them in my head as I'm reading it, and pick up my guitar and play and sing the song top to bottom. And they don't suck.
Yeah.
Dude, God
new.
is doing, no, it's not about her. It's not about her.
No, but she's new in your life. You're
Very
saying.
new. It's not about her and it's not about me. It's about God.
Okay.
He's pouring something into me right now that I know is important for this moment that we're living in. Because this is fun. I love to talk about the past.
Yeah.
I'm a today guy.
Yeah,
I wake up. I know the world's on fire. I get it. But I wake up every day so thrilled to be alive in this window of history because I know what's coming, dude.
Yeah.
And it is so good.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be frightening. It's going to be all the things that all the naysayers say.
Well,
but it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
If you're a kingdom person.
Amen.
It is.
Well, and I agree with that. I mean,
And I think these songs affect that process.
also they are in that realm of what they're describing. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I would then that.
I'm going to send you a few tunes. And
Please do.
Tell me if I'm nuts or not.
Do you have a favorite song that you've written?
No, I don't.
No, there's nothing.
Yeah, you would have to narrow it down to: is it funny? Does it make you cry? Does it make you dance? Does it make you do something else? I've got songs that I know matter most to me.
Okay.
That's the way I can say it. I've got a song I wrote years ago called "Sweet Jesus." It's a story song, and there was a bus. A bus came by one morning.
Yeah.
Wrote it on piano. I don't play piano.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing song. Amazing song. It's so well written that in the narrative of the song, this singer's mother dies in a tragic accident that the kid is involved but survives. And I had so many people over the decades, dude, come up to me and say, I'm just so sorry. I mean, about your mom and having to grow up without her and all this stuff. I got so tired of telling the truth. I started just saying, yeah, it was hard, man. It was tough. It was so hard. I've done the same thing with Gary Chapman, 5 Love Languages book. Everybody thinks I wrote it. I've signed so many of those dang things. I'm tired of explaining. No, he's the writer. I'm the singer-songwriter guy.
Well, speaking of which, you were in that genre that we were sort of examining, obviously from a very young age, and you ended up marrying someone who was quite successful at that little game. No?
No.
No? No? You didn't marry somebody that was successful at the game of Christian contemporary?
Not when we got married, no.
Okay, okay. So if you don't know, he was married to Amy Grant. And
True.
An odd... Okay, how do I even just... I don't even know if I should even say it.
You can say anything you want.
Well, it's just weird.
Oh, please.
You'll see, when
now I got to hear
say
it.
You'll know it's weird.
You had a crush on her.
What single Christian guy didn't?
Exactly.
Gary Chapman.
Exactly.
This girl
I was most hated.
Okay, so this is an odd territory for me to bring this up.
No.
So the point is...
Dude, I had guys wanting to kill me because they didn't marry her, literally.
Gary.
I had guard dogs because of this phenomenon.
Gary.
I had guys that thought they were supposed to be the father of the Messiah.
And God told them
and
that.
she was she was going to give birth to the Messiah with them, but before that could happen, they had to kill me.
Gary, she was so attractive in a beautiful, sweet, honest, innocent way. I'm just describing her persona. When I hear or watch her interviews, she seemed to be so real and not sort of full of herself.
Absolutely, 100%.
And just so attractive. She just was.
Yep.
And
that's why I married her. I get it.
And you won.
I did.
You won. You got the prize.
Hands
that
down.
every dude is thinking, that's someday she's going to do a concert and I'll be there and she's going to go, well, that's the guy I've been waiting for. And so, and good for you. I mean, you just were you doing you, and that should say something about your character.
Yeah,
Because she, I'm guessing, had lots of options.
She had many options.
And she chose you. So that's a beautiful thing.
Well,
and you
temporarily.
Yeah, but you were together for a long time. You had children.
17 years, 3 kids.
Three kids. And I'm guessing it was a wonderful experience. Certainly, obviously, it didn't...
We had some great years.
Yeah, you had to.
Yes.
And I'm not here to delve into your personal life. It's not my business. I guess what I was more referencing was just... What I'm referencing is that those of us who are believers, who are artists in that realm, who are seen by fellow believers in that realm, and for whatever reason, they chose to put us on pedestals we never asked to be put on.
Nope.
They were on a stage. I get it.
She was big time.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And should be.
Top of top.
And she should be.
Yeah.
She did great songs. She had a great personality. She ended up crossing over, which she took a beating for. I saw a magazine in the 80s, I'm going to guess. I used to go to Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, Chuck Smith.
Yep.
So,
Been there.
Okay. So there was Maranatha Village, which was a place where they would have their you'd go buy all their stuff, right?
Yep.
So you'd buy their albums and everything. That's where I'd see a Keith Green album. Said if you can't afford it, you can just take it.
Yep.
Do you remember Keith Green? I don't know if you knew him.
Barely, but no, not honestly.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
But there was a magazine in that one time with Amy, and it was 80s, so she still probably was, I thought would be interested in me eventually.
Once she got rid of me.
Yeah, and but I was reading out, and she was talking about. All I remember is she was talking about. She had an album cover, and she was wearing like a leopard spotted jacket or some kind of
unguarded
that she made herself.
Unguarded.
Little homeschooly vibe, she made her own little jacket, her own thing. And
I don't think she actually made that.
Well,
just for the record.
that's
she
what
may have
I'm-
lied about that.
No, probably, because she clearly is just
Maybe she did,
duplicitous.
and I
you know,
wasn't paying
No,
attention.
I've always known that the undergirding her, she's truly, one of psyop. But
I'm going to leave that so alone.
but she said that she just was trying to make her own little thing
Yeah.
and do her little thing, and she took all this heat, like how dare you, and like like the Christians take ownership about how you're allowed to behave, what parameters we expect out of you to be our artist.
As I recall, the reason people were upset about it, it was a marketing decision to have, I think, 4, maybe 5 different covers. It's the same photo shoot, but it was different images.
Okay.
To try to get people, obviously, to buy
Yeah.
all of them. Why would you not do that? If you're
Yeah.
a big fan, you want to collect the set, right?
Yeah.
And in one of them, she was kind of playfully bending over, and that made the Christians go crazy, which will let you know where their minds were.
Like cleavage, or
No.
the illusion that it could be there if we were able to see
No.
past what we're seeking to find.
No, she was bending over.
Oh, like from behind.
I'm telling you, she was bending over, yes.
Okay.
And that, which I thought was just unbelievably silly.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in jeans with a jacket on, and somehow that turned into something.
She was trying to do different poses, because when you do
Sure.
a photo shoot,
Oh,
you're
she
just
was
trying to
just
give you
jumping
different
around.
looks. Like,
She's just
keep
jumping
shooting,
around.
let's see what works.
Yeah.
But she talked about how people were condemning her or whatever, and I had this sense. It doesn't matter. I had this sense of protectiveness, like it bothered me. Now maybe because I was
Dude, I did it for
in
years.
the arts, and so I was a Christian in the arts, and I felt. And it's all image. I don't know her. I didn't know her. I don't know her. But I had this brotherly sense of protected.
You should have.
How dare you guys?
Yeah.
This girl has done more for Christian music than anybody else. She's put, and anyways, I just said someday maybe I'll meet her, and I just want her to know, you didn't deserve that, and God bless you for what you've done. So, years later, I'm doing.
You took her that cover to get it signed?
No, better, I think. Years later, it was GMC week.
GMA.
GMA week.
Unless, of course, you want a Chevrolet.
Yes, right. GMC. That's right. GMA week, which I don't even know if they do that anymore.
I think they do. I've not been invited in many years.
Well, and it was my only.
No
invite.
bitterness.
And
Trust
last-
me.
it was
I got something to do that week.
But and there was a big thing, and they would have all these bands playing at different areas for a whole week.
Yeah,
and
yeah, it was a big
it's
thing.
It was like the country music
In the
thing.
heyday, that was a big deal.
It was big deal. And Barry Landis was running
Sure.
Word at that time. And anyways, I was kind of the new comic in the genre of
Mm-hmm.
Christian thing. I had just come out maybe with, or no, I was just about to come out with Put a Helmet On.
That got you to like host a showcase or something.
Of course. Indeed.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
So they brought me in to host a show.
obviously, I remember the weeks well.
Yes, and they brought me in to do that, and it was at Ryman. Mm-hmm. So of all places, I was going to be. Actually, that wasn't at the Ryman. It was at Opryland. I did Ryman at doing something else. Anyways, but I was hosting it. So I'm trying to remember. I think For Him was in the lineup, and maybe Salvador. I'm trying to think of back in those days. But they send me the lineup who's going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And the closing the show was Amy Grant.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, this is the moment.
This is your moment.
That I'm going to go take back
Absolutely.
that thing. This is years
Do it.
later.
Do it.
And in my mind, I pictured how I was going to approach this thing. So everybody's singing and dancing, blah, blah, do their own thing. So this is GMA. This is the movers and shakers.
It's the pinnacle
Of the Christian world. I'm an
Doves
unknown.
are flying everywhere.
I'm an unknown
Right.
comic. Haven't made my place. Nobody knows me yet at the scale that they do now in the evangelical Christian world of performance artists. They don't know me yet. But I'm in. I'm like the new hot guy that's coming to town, and I'm doing comedy unlike any other
I'm actually starting to remember this moment, so this is fun.
So, really?
Yeah.
So, I don't even know if you were there, but maybe.
I was probably in the crowd. Or if
maybe.
I wasn't in the band, I was in the crowd.
Well, you wouldn't have been in the band, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I'm sure you can allude to why. But I'm going to introduce her Still had never met her. Nobody introduced me beforehand, like this is Amy and here's how to bring her up or whatever. So I brought everybody else out. Everybody did their thing, blah, 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 blah. Now it's her turn. I come on stage. I don't remember exactly how I did this, but it was something I had pictured in my head for months prior to that. I said, folks, this is just after the divorce.
Well, it was not the 80s then.
No, this is the 90s. This is just after the divorce. No, the 80s is when I saw the magazine.
It'd be 99 or 2000.
Okay, that's when it was.
Yeah.
So.
And I wasn't there.
No, you weren't there. No, the 80s was when I read the magazine cover.
Right, got it.
This was this many years later when I finally get to come full circle and and go stick up for like I wanted to do as this kid.
Right.
Okay. So I'm standing in front of these folks. They don't know me. And I had already done laughter and jokes and whatever. And I'm trying to paraphrase because it was so many years ago. But it's something to the effect of, folks, so she had been taking all this heat because she had just been divorced and, I guess, remarried. And they weren't having it. Or she was really being beat up in the Christian world.
It was a moment, yes.
Okay. And so I get her there and I start going, folks, the woman you're about to see needs no introduction, clearly. Now, again, remember, at this time her career was kind of...
It's on the bubble.
I don't want to say in tatters because it wasn't,
It's on the bubble.
but was certainly rough seas were happening at this point. And I said, she's also somebody, I'm paraphrasing it, but something to the effect of, she's also somebody that if you're sitting here right now with money in your wallet, she put it there.
Oh, good. It's probably true.
She's the one that opened up this door and made this thing as big as it be. If it wasn't for her standing up for what she did and what she put us on the map, we wouldn't have that. Well, the band is getting ready behind me, and I happen to notice, and this is all side eye, some dude walks out, hooking up his guitar and everything, and suddenly I can. So. I'm going on, and suddenly I see this guy stop, and I can come, and he's like going, like raise the roof, like he's hearing what I'm saying. And so I go, blah, and she deserves all the respect that can, and she has done things, and she's got a new album out about hymns, and this is what it's supposed to be, and we are, this is us being one. Blah, 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 blah. Please welcome Amy Grant.
And Vince Gill.
I didn't say Vince, but he was the one that was doing this. Well, because it wasn't him, it was her. It was her thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
her showcase. She just had him do it. And I'm walking off stage. Dude, popcorn.
Yeah.
Standing ovation.
Sure.
Cheers.
Well, you
people
told him the
running
truth.
to the stage.
That was the truth.
Doing the whole thing. And I almost like cried like... It was like full circle. That's what I thought when I read that thing as a kid in
Right.
the 80s. And I got to say... All right, sister, I'm going to stick up for you on that. You don't deserve that. I don't know her. Maybe she deserved it. I don't know her. Maybe it's all a fraud. Because in this day and age, dude, in this world that we live in, I don't know who's real anymore. I don't know anything. I don't know who to trust.
You know more than you think.
You do the best you can with the fruit you think you've seen them experience.
Yeah.
And they went nuts. The show ends. Never met her. Nobody.
Still haven't? Briefly, some days later?
I actually met her one time at a photo thing, and I never introduced myself because I knew she had no idea who I was, and she certainly remembered. But afterwards, her fan manager, fan page or whatever it is, came up and said, "Thank you for what you did for me." Oh my God! And all these people were like so grateful that I did this thing.
I get it.
That I didn't know what I did, because I didn't give a crap, Gary. I was speaking truth. That's what I am as a comic. That's what I am as a Christ follower. I'm speaking truth. I don't care what you people think. Maybe, just maybe, you need to hear what is true, because I'm sick of the cowardice. I'm sick of the lethargy. I'm sick of why do you think God had to weed out so many churches in this nation during the Corona crisis?
He's just getting
Because
started.
you had to be eliminated because you're frauds. You aren't who we need. We need warriors, and you ain't one of them. And so that was me sort of standing up for a sister. Now, that's the full circle. Okay? You were the one that was in the divorce that created this. I'm not blaming you for. I'm just saying
Yeah, I
you
wouldn't.
happened to be the guy that she was divorced from that caused part of this rift in this thing, and so I have to assume you too faced judgment, wrath, ridicule, persecution, maybe even and maybe you don't care, but maybe even a cost of some of your career in that genre.
Yeah. So
Tell me about this train wreck that I know in the end,
This
you're
is-
married and happy.
this is
has
going to
redeemed
be
itself.
the greatest, and might I add, longest setup to an amazing story that I will tell the next time I'm on this podcast.
Okay.
Because you said an hour and it's a little over, and I have to go get my nails done. Can you zoom in on these 3 nails? I have gigs coming up this weekend, and if these nails,
Oh yes.
if they're not correct, I won't be as good as I am. So, it's important. I will say this much to put the point on your T's. That whole thing, which wounded not just me and her and our kids and our families, but millions and millions
Yes.
and millions of people. So many people got a divorce because they were on the bubble, and it's like, well, I guess it's okay. So many people disillusioned, so many people hurt, so many people confused. And when you hear what has happened, because God is God and he's amazing, you will feel better about it. I will tell the best story of forgiveness and reconciliation that I am personally aware of next time you have me on.
Well,
but I can't be late for my nail appointment.
I don't do that. Quickly, before we go, because I don't want to leave it like this, because it's a beautiful moment and so forth. Just quickly, Spirit of America coming up here in November.
We're going to have so much fun.
So if you don't know what it is, it's November 12th. It's going to be at the Belmont at the Fisher Center. Gary Chapman singing beautiful songs about America. Jonathan Chiliafaro singing opera, for crying out loud.
dude.
I mean, is this guy an odd,
I'm kind of
interesting dude?
I'm going to be sort of armpit farting the songs while Jonathan, who is a crazy great opera singer,
He really is.
He's so good. He's so good. It's going to be a fun show.
I'll be
Big
doing
time.
comedy, lifting up God and country, and just talking about America, remembering who we are. It's an important way to realize that we are not just sort of red and white, even though that's what it's become, but we're red, white, and blue. There is an idea of e pluribus unum, out of many one. I don't know if we can find it, folks. I don't know if we can right this ship. It's going to have to be God's intervention, but we need to try to start looking for a third great awakening. And God said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves. Notice what he said. He didn't call the heathen. He didn't call the Democrats or the Republicans. He said, my people are responsible if there's going to be a change. So Spirit of America, November 12th, you and I are going to be there with Jonathan. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind show that could go across the nation and try to reinvigorate patriotism
We're gonna have a blast.
and love for this nation. So
Yes.
I want you to be there and be part of it. Gary, thank you for coming on, man. You're such a great
My
guy,
pleasure,
and
man.
what a much more robust interview than I had expected. I didn't know where it was going, but we got to do this again because I love what you're doing.
Say when. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, listen, folks, and by the way, the story he was going to tell you, and he just said he would do it, so now I have to hold him to it, otherwise he's
does.
a liar, and then he goes to hell.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Is a story that I trust you is earth-shattering, and it will heal a lot of you, so I'm grateful he said that. But remember, folks, your job, if you're a Christ follower, is to be a truth teller. You're the last truth teller on earth. If you are just a patriot or somebody that believes in freedom, your job is to identify as an American and somebody who defends this nation and the Constitution. Folks, political correctness, cultural Marxism is evil, it's cancerous, it's destroying us, and it's got to go. PC-free is liberty. And so if somebody ever says that you're politically incorrect, please tell them thank you for the compliment. Folks, I'm still here every Monday, and as long as I have a mind, a mouth, and a mic, I'm going to do my best to see if we can keep liberty alive. Remember, it's God's comic Brad Stine here with Gary Chapman, and all I'm doing is putting the woke back to sleep. See you next Monday.